Military and veteran suicide is still a major issue here in the U.S., with 20 veterans per day taking their own lives across the country and roughly 5 per week right here in North Carolina. The VA Suicide Prevention Group is hard at work to get to each of these service members and their families. I'm joined by Marine and Suicide Prevention Specialist Gary Kuna. Gary, what is the biggest gap in getting information to the people who need it?
Right now, I'd say the biggest gap is just identifying who our veterans are. And a lot of folks just don't identify as veterans. And I think that one of the ways that we can kind of close that gap is if we can rely on other veterans who are familiar with military culture and just some of the behaviors and habits that might be exhibited by a veteran, and just help us, reach out to them and maybe tell them about their experiences with VA healthcare system. And if they're not enrolled in VA healthcare, maybe to encourage them to enroll in VA healthcare, because we know that that is a protective factor in terms of preventing suicide.
That's one thing to talk to the veterans directly. How do you approach and get to the families who are surrounded, the son, the daughter, the husband, the wife, to make sure they're part of this team as well?
I think we need to take a broad-based public health approach and just kind of remind folks that suicide prevention is everybody's business, and that you don't have to be a specialist. You have to be someone who cares and is generally interested in the welfare of others. And ask that question, and it's a very difficult question to ask. And it's a matter of timing and sensitivity, and there's trainings that we offer through the VA so that we get a truthful response, that if someone is in crisis and they're in need of help, that you're in a position to go ahead and guide them and encourage them getting the help and kind of expedite that process.
One thing I know, when you talk to veterans at community events and engagement events, one thing you talk about is gun locks and gun safety. Why is that a big part of your speech, and how is gun locks, how do you feel that that would help?
Well, I don't have hard, solid data to support the efficacy of gun locks as a means of preventing suicide. However, I believe that a responsible gun owner who secures the weapon does so to make sure that a child doesn't accidentally harm themselves or harm someone else, or God forbid, an unauthorized adult takes that weapon and uses it in the commission of a crime. So we keep our weapons secure. We keep them locked up, either with a gun lock or in a safe. In terms of suicide prevention, I think that when someone is contemplating suicide, they're not in their right mind. They're not thinking rationally. And I think the gun lock can serve as a trigger to remind them, oh yeah, I remember why I put this on, because I think there might come a time where I'm not thinking clearly, and this will buy me a few precious moments to think about my safety plan and think of more positive and appropriate ways to solve life's problems other than taking my life.